breaks because we now, to avoid Zoom fatigue, we know it's very hard to follow online sessions. So the first spring break will go from 10:45 to 11, and the second one to 12 to 12:15, if everything goes okay, but we will have some time to rest. So the next part is to check for attendance. We are calling the roll. So I will call you by your name, and please make us a short introduction of 1 minute about yourselves, less if possible, because we are now 9 people and it can take some time. So we are starting by Adelina Silva. Please let us know where are you from, what's your work position, and also where is your country. Thank you so much.
Okay, good morning, everyone. I hope you can all hear me well, right? So I'm a teacher. I'm a teacher at a secondary school, Escola Secundária de Passos de Ferreira in Portugal. I like to be innovative, a teacher with innovation. So I'm here to hear your project.
Okay, thank you so much, Adelina. Now it's the turn of Andrea Goldsmith.
Hello, nice to meet you. I'm from Romania. I teach English at Școala Gimnazială Comuna Pucheni Mari. It's a small school in the rural area of Pucheni Mari. I'm happy to be part of this hackathon, and I'm ready to learn a lot from you. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Now is the time of Cinzia Larger.
Hello everyone, I'm Cinzia Larger. I'm from Provincia Autonoma of Trento, and I'm a teacher, and I'm detached in the Provincia Autonoma, and I manage some transnational projects, and I'm also a researcher in digital teaching in education. And I'm happy to welcome you and to take part of this event. I never have taken part in Edu Hackathon. I hope to learn as much as possible. Hi.
Thank you very much, Cinzia. And now Evangelia Triantafiliou, hope to spell well your name, has just entered. So we are introducing ourselves in less than a minute. So please, Evangelia, would you please introduce yourself and let us know where are you from, what's your country, and what's your work position? Thank you. Okay, probably it has taken Evangelia by surprise, so let's follow by Ida Maielaro.
Hello, everyone. So my name is Ida Maielaro. I'm from Italy, southern Italy, from Bari, in the province, in the area of Bari. And I teach maths and physics. And I used to teach CLIL by the methodology of CLIL in physics. So new methodologies are, I'm interested. I'm interested in new methodologies, and I want to learn as well. And I coordinated an Erasmus Plus a couple of years ago, which ended in a creation of a website. So I would like also to share the web link whenever you give me the opportunity. I'm 58, just the age.
Thank you so much, Ida. So now it's the turn of Jacopo Gencat.
Hello, nice to meet you, everyone. I'm Jacopo. I'm 39 years old. I'm a teacher. I'm located in Italy, in the middle of Italy, near Bologna. Actually, I'm an engineer because I started teaching only last year. and I would like to learn to hear from you all the experience, how to, let's say, bring projects in the classrooms. Because I had the opportunity as an engineer to participate to several projects, and I would like to learn how to bring projects in the classroom, because there are different constraints from, let's say, traditional workplaces. And so I would like to understand how to do this.
Thank you very much, Jacopo. Now it's the time of Yannick Sirens.
Yes, hello everyone. I am a 54-year-old teacher from Belgium. I will teach Dutch, English, and French next year, starting in September in a new school. So I'm very excited. I taught before, but many years ago, then switched the career to as a sales representative, and which stopped in 2020. So I took the opportunity to update my knowledge of teaching, how to teach, methods of teaching, and I'm really excited to start in September. And I'm very digitally minded, and I like to be creative with apps and whatever comes across. So, and it's my first time joining this kind of event, so I'm very excited.
Thank you very much. I see Denisa, who has just joined this meeting. So Denisa, welcome. And we are starting by introducing ourselves. So please, would you? Oh, she's writing in the chat. So she says that unfortunately my connection is very weak and I cannot always stay connected. As my predecessor said, there is the holiday period until September. Thank you for taking the opportunity to participate in this event. So we will try to include you in the hackathon. Taking into account that you may have connectivity issues. Of course, this is the first part of an effective online training session to get a good connection. But we will try to include you as much as possible. Thank you so much, Denisa, for introducing yourself. So I see Daniela Bunea had some problems with her laptop. So not sure if she can introduce herself or she cannot. Thank you so much, Denisa. Okay, I see Daniela has also issues, so let's hope that she will be able to enter again later. So as far as I see, we are everyone. We introduced ourselves, everyone. So we had 41 registered teachers and advisors, and we are by now we are 10. So this makes to shorten a little the introduction time. So hope you don't mind if we shorten the length of this of this event. And now we are introducing Eduregio Erasmus Plus project. We have a video prepared for this because it's a bit tiresome to listen to me all of the time and speaking about things that you barely know. So we thought that some music and some animation would make it lighter to know about Eduregio. So please, Olga, would you share the video with all of us? Thank you so much. Okay, thank you very much for your attention. We see that there is another teacher who is on board, is Agatha. So please, Agatha, would you like to introduce yourself in less than 1 minute? Agatha, please. And also Evangelia is again on board. Would you, Evangelia, please introduce yourself in less than 1 minute? Okay, probably they have connectivity issues. So this video is showing the resume of the Eduregio project. It's a project of regional cooperation led by regional authorities. So we have been joining efforts, especially during the pandemic times, to explore the use of the digital, the creative use of digital technologies in the classroom. We have also as partner European Schoolnet, who is a think tank on educational issues, and it's composed by ministries of 47 countries, different countries, both of the Erasmus Plus program and associated partners. So it has been a very interesting experience, and also we learned invaluable lessons of the pandemic times, because all of us suffered lockdowns, school lockdowns from different points of view, and so this has enriched our initial planning. It's composed by three handbooks and guides that we will deliver you after they are finished. Today we are only checking a mind map because we have not time to. Let's be realistic. You will not have time to check a very long document in a weekend. because many of you are classroom teachers that are really exhausted from teaching online and having in mind all the COVID restrictions in the classrooms in case you have been on-site teaching. So we created a visual map and a resume of these handbooks. We will ask you for your feedback. And after they are finished, we will send you a copy. But in calm, on holidays, you check it peacefully after students' memories are very far from you. And then we are also we had also 2 training sessions. The handbooks and the learning scenarios come from those trainings. One of them was in the month of March. It was about collaborative techniques to create learning scenarios and design pedagogical settings. And the other one was a hackathon that was led by Mrs. Lapuente, who will lead again a teaser of this hackathon. So we will ask you for your feedback at the end of this training session. So I think that we could advance the screen break and come back at 10:45. Okay, in the same place. So let's come back in 15 minutes. We will show you the video of the school and classroom kids, a short video with music also. And we will provide you a PDF to get a closer overview better than from a video. So thank you so much. Let's meet in 15 minutes. And then we will start the hackathon too. Thank you. Okay, we are starting in 3 minutes again. If any one of you is still around, please check that you have well installed your Google Chrome browser, because you will need it for the next activity and for the hackathon teaser. Please make sure that Chrome is working properly. Also remember that you have this side chat to write your questions, your concerns, your doubts that will be answered at the end of this 7th session. We are gathering all your questions and we will answer them in the last question and answer round. Okay. Thank you very much, Ida, because it seems to be a very, very interesting project. And of course, feel free to invite us to, well, at least, okay, I see us, of course, to invite me to any diffusion thing that, or event or something that you do, both by training and by Facebook or whatever the mean you are choosing.
Unfortunately, the project was closed in October 2018. Oh, sorry, 2019. Yeah, in October 2019, it was closed. And so this is the result of our work, our long work, a couple of years with students. We also practiced what we are sharing.
Great. Especially for music and art, sometimes it's overlooked in clear methodologies, even if it works so well.
Yeah, but the fact is that the physics topic is very hard. So we tried to make it lighter with a different approach, thanks to art and music.
Great. I am working right now as pedagogical advisor for Generalitat de Catalunya, but my background is clear art teacher. So really interesting to me by very shallow reasons. Your project, I will have a glance for sure. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, of course, if any one of you would like to share your projects, of course, feel free to use the side chat. It's for you. It's made for you. Okay, I think we can start again. So please, Olga, would you like to show us the next video? Okay, this video is the introduction of our intellectual outputs. I will explain you a bit later after the video is finished. Thank you. Okay, thank you so much. We are sending you in the side chat the link to this presentation. Well, it's the presentation of the whole project. So you will be able to check carefully and closer the mind maps of the intellectual outputs. Okay, I am sending this. Please check that it's possible for you to open it. And in the meanwhile, I am explaining a bit how they work. They are three. Well, it's a set of four kits, handbooks. The first one is the number 0. It's policy brief recommendations that will be finished by our authorities, and we will gather all the learnings from the lockdown time. But at a policymaker point of view, from a policymaker point of view. But the first, the second, and the third ones are focused on everyday classroom practice. So you have the first one is about one is actions. Classroom Kids is focused on classroom teaching. It's about ITCs to support educational content and strategies, student-centered methodologies, and digital educational resources in inquiry-based exploratory learning. It contains some guidelines on how to plan a lesson plan, a learning unit with ICT support, how they relate to 21st century skills, problem solving, advanced media literacy, how to be a critical thinker, all the 21st century skills. This is a very special one. Is the free market of educational resources, because as you know, they are sometimes not that free. Also, how to manage the classroom. I think this is very interesting for all of us. How to manage classrooms with ICT support and distance education in schools. This was not planned, unfortunately, but we found it in front of us suddenly. And so this is a gathering of our experiences. Also, some teachers that took part in the trainings participated. So they are gathering also grassroots experiences. And another important part that sometimes is raising some concerns and some doubts, that it's assessment on ICT, because as you know, it has never been that easy to cheat on assessment on ICT support. So how to plan assessment, avoiding cheating. So we are gathering experience from real teachers, from classroom teachers. We are showing a best practice, and also some references and the selection of learning scenarios that were curated and produced by the teachers participating in our training sessions. So we hope the visual map will help you to get an idea. It's a long document, so it would be a bit of too much to ask you to read it and get an opinion. So it's an extract, the visual map. The second part is about actions for schools. It's from a school point of view, a whole school point of view, and especially how to participate in EU Code Week and how to integrate coding in curricula. Because sometimes it can be from afar a bit tricky how to introduce, especially in primary education and early education, how to introduce robotics and coding. So we are telling in this handbook about ICT infrastructure. What are the teachers' skills? No need to be engineers, but of course it's good if you are. When to implement ICTs, because the pandemic has really changed everything, the landscape. landscape. Because, for example, when we planned these handbooks, we had many discussions among us on how to set the first limit to introduce coding and robotics, and we said, okay, the higher primary school level, it means from around 9 years old. But now, after the COVID, everything has changed. So probably there are, for example, many ways to use Arduino or to use Scratch for students that cannot read. Still, there are visual supports for robotics in early education. So we are gathering our experiences about this in the guidelines. Computational thinking also, not only from the from the coding point of view, but computational thinking is interesting to be used in many subjects, school subjects, and also as a methodology to think, because you have a problem, you have some solutions, and you if you follow the steps, you get the solution. It's good for everything in life, and also to get the students to enter this mindset. And many ideas on how to participate in EU Code Week directly from their dynamizers that are European SchoolNet. Best practices, especially on how to participate in EU Code Week, and the annex also with some references to let you know more about the matter, the subject of this school and classroom kit, and the selection of learning scenarios produced by and curated by real teachers, by classroom teachers. The third part is how to use hackathons in school settings. It's focusing on collaboration strategies, design thinking and co-creation, national collaboration to make, and we are linking this with twinning, how to use international collaboration and how to spice up the some project-based learning activities, especially using twinning. And the guidelines, what are the differences between hackathons and coding jams, how to organize a coding jam and edu hackathon with the students, and also for teacher training, how to define a challenge, team definition strategies, especially interesting on these times because in some schools we were forced to mix students of different ages in double groups. So hackathons, the methodology of hackathons can be very interesting to mix students of different ages in the same project. Also, this is a bonus track from the pandemic is online edu hackathons and coding jams, and how to move from local to international inspiration. That will be our hackathon, and also some references to learn more and learning scenarios. Of course, all of them focused on collaborative methodologies to work in the classroom. I think, in our opinion, and we think that collaboration may be one of the best strategies to make a successful online teaching. So this is a brief overview. I hope to don't be very tiresome on how our school and classroom kids are. So now is the turn of Irene, and she will explain us how hackathons are good to motivate students, and also we are starting our teaser of the hackathon. Thank you so much, Irene.
Thank you, Anna. Yeah, first of all, I'm going to explain a little bit where do hackathons come from and how they get influenced, as Anna said, from technology and from other philosophies, and how we can use them in different settings, and then why they are good for schools. So let me share my screen with you, and then you'll also be able to see my presentation as the same time as you can hear me. Okay, so I think the first thing we have to remember is that this idea of co-creation, of the you probably have heard a lot about collaboration, co-creation, co-ideation, co-design. There are different codes, but they all share the same philosophy. So even Anna was talking about hackathons and about coding jams. All of these, I think, it's under the same umbrella. So we are not going to be very specific about names, but I would like you to know where do they come from, why do they get inspired, and a little bit the background of them. We are La Mandarina de Newton, and as Anna said, and we are a cultural enterprise focused on science and technology. We work with education, but also with culture and with scientific technology transfer. And we get inspired by 3 ways of thinking. Scientific method, some of you already know because some of you are physics and math teachers, not like Ida, so you already know scientific method. We use it a lot, but we also use design thinking that is similar to scientific method, but it's how designers approach problems. And I think in that sense, Jacopo probably knows a little bit better because engineers and designers, they have a similar philosophy to solve problems. And this is why hackathons are very interesting, because they are based on design thinking. And then we also use creative processes. So we also mix, as someone was mentioning, with arts and other disciplines to make hybrid products. We work a lot on STEAM, and we foster co-creation. So hackathons have been in our DNA since the beginning. We started in 2010, so now we've been 11 years working on science, technology, education, culture, and collaboration. This idea of introduction to co is because sometimes new fashions arrive and we get all mixed up about what is one thing and what is the other, and we just jump into the new without analyzing. So I think it's good that we start thinking why hackathons appear and why they could be good for us. The first thing Anna also mentioned is they are a problem-solving process, but something that is very, very interesting is that they include human perspectives. In fact, when you do a hackathon in the school, you are going to include students or teachers or the main person who is going to receive the eventual product. So that is good because when you include this person, they are going to be more motivated, more involved, more realistic about their needs. For the last decade, I would say even longer, but designers have been changing the focus where their design is to human. So we call it human-centered design. For a long time, this center could be the technology. I'm sure most of you have seen applications that they are really cool, but you don't know why to use them because they are focused on being faster or being smarter, or just they are just thought about math and the coding process, but not the use of people. Or sometimes, I'm sure you also know, architects or designers, here in Spain we have a few, that the focus is themselves, how artistic they are, but they don't think how this is needed by people or how people are going to use it. I remember a long time ago, I used to work in a science museum here in Barcelona, and there was this area for children. It was so beautiful. I mean, really, really beautiful. But kids were going to explore with water, and it was a bit slippery. And it had like a hills. So that was like all kids were, falling down because water is slippery and hills. It's beautiful, but it's not practical. So that's when you focus or you center the design in the artist, that sometimes it's not realistic with the users. Well, for a while, we've been seeing that this is not good, that if you want to design something for someone, designing is always finding like something to introduce in a context. You have a problem, you have a need, and we make something to change to solve that problem. So we need to think about people and how they are living and how their needs are. So the good thing of this human-centered perspective is that it mixes empathy with creativity. You are going to be very creative still, but you need to understand people and the context. And you can do it as a teacher. We've been doing hackathons with teachers, and you know quite well your students, so you can work with this empathy to make something better for your students rather than someone who's never met a child or a teenager designing these learning resources. But you can also involve your students, because sometimes, I'm sure you've seen it, that when you teach something, you learn twice. So I'm sure if your students get involved in creating their own educational resources, their own challenges, and that's how hackathons are going to work, they're going to learn twice, because they have to learn about how to frame a problem, how to understand the context, how to come up with ideas, and then how to solve it. So in order to do that, we are not left out to say, come on, create, because that would be very, very difficult. We follow some methodologies, and we are trying eventually to change the world by understanding it. If we think about the different disciplines that they've been evolving to call, it's been many, because I've talked about design, user-centered design, but free software. More and more people are contributing to free software, and that means you have to learn how to code, you have to learn what's the problem, how to solve it. It's not always flat, there is a hierarchy, but still there is a lot of learning and a lot of community intelligence, it's a group. It's not just one person being the smartest, but it's something that we are doing together. The hacker culture, all the hackathons, do-it-yourself culture, that's more common than ever. In the past, some people would do things with wood or with electronics, but now that's becoming easier and easier. There are fab labs, there are places where you can like tech shops, that you can borrow materials and you can use 3D printers, or you can use anything, and you can build your own set of materials. If we are studying the DNA structure in the school, maybe we can make it with a 3D printer, or maybe we can cut it with a laser cutter. I don't know, but you can do, or we can do things to improve our experiments. You can easily prepare small like microscopes with your mobile, the camera of your mobile, and some lenses and some laser cutter. You can also adapt to that. It's also a moment that non-experts are mixing with experts in the arts. The social networks are busting with all the information. People are not just listening, but they are also talking. Because I think the biggest change is that users have become prosumers. So they use the resource, but also they produce the resource. And that's something very good for students. I think it's very good in the areas where you are really involved, like education or health. Because if you are not just receiving the information and doing what other people tell you, but you are also producing and understanding, then you get more involved in your learning process, and I'm sure you learn more and more motivated. Here on the side, I've shared with you a map of all the different types of design. It's a little bit of a schematic map of types of design. Hackathons would be close to a Scandinavian approach. It's a participatorial design research. It's led by research because we want to know more about the context, about the people, not so much led by design itself, and is very participatorial, not so much thought by the designer, as I saw. So it's a design process that feels everybody can be a designer. In fact, what I'm trying to do with my students at university or with the hackathons with teachers is trying to not get everybody to be a designer or in a certain way an engineer. The design thinking, as I was saying, is what we'll be using, is the methodology you use in Edu hackathons, for example, or any other hackathons. Is thinking like a designer. That's why it's design thinking. Here you can see a photo of one of the Edu hackathons we did with La Generalitat de Catalunya. That was a few years ago. And in that moment, COVID and the pandemic were in, with us, so we could do it physically. And you can see that many teachers were working in teams. They were following this process, and they were coming up with new educational resources, because also innovation can be fostered with this type of activities. And the phases they were following, they were emphasizing with the wall, with their students, with the school context, because not everybody has the same school context, with the society around them, with the needs of these students, with the needs of the teachers. So a little bit understanding the whole wall where you, this context where you are going to fit this new educational resource. Because it's not the same to work, I don't know, in an area where people come from different countries and then you have some issues with the language, but to work in a place where everybody is the same and it's a little town, they all know each other, or a context where teachers and parents are working together and there is a great community, or a place where teachers are by themselves and they have to do everything on their own. That's not going to be the same. So maybe the educational resource has to be adapted to that context. Or maybe even if you get another educational resource that is already done by someone, you have to adapt it to your context. So it's very important to understand. And then you have to define the challenges. So sometimes the problem we have is we don't know what we need, why we want to do that. No, we need to know, how can I find a project that can help my students to do something? For example, Ida, I think she was saying that physics, it's like the tough subject. Okay, then we need, how can I find a way to help my students to find physics not that tough? Or how can I train my students in a way that they are working a lot, but they don't feel it that much? So that would be not defining the challenge. Then you have to ideate. And ideas, there are plenty, there are loads. We cannot imagine how many ideas we can have. So it's good that in that phase, we throw a lot of ideas, that we don't stick with the first one, because usually we fall in love with our ideas. That's very common. And it's good to explore. Once we've ideated many ideas, of course, we have to choose. We cannot produce all of them. And we are going to choose the more feasible, the more reasonable, the ones you like the most. And we are going to try to make a small prototypes. This philosophy is also based in do it fast, do it quick, do it cheap, test it, and then see if it works. So we are going to do a small prototypes. We are going to test it, iterate, do it a couple of times, like in the scientific method, and see what's working, what is not, and eventually implement. So that would be a little bit the phases of design thinking. All this material is going to be visual. It needs to be visual, because visual, like maths, are universal in space and time. We have paintings of our hands from prehistoric times. Not like the first thing we show is like our hand, and now schools and kindergartens, they are doing their publicity with the hands of the kids. So this hand is always our hand, because the visual is something, it doesn't need a specific language from countries, so we can all relate. And it's good that in hackathons, Edu hackathons, because we are working with different types of people, different ages, different backgrounds, that we have some material that we can all share, that we can all relate. That's visual. I think that we receive more visual information than any other. We receive 75% of the information we get is visual, and we retain it more than listening or other types of getting information. We retain 6 times more. So it's good that we use any activity we propose has a visual part, and it's not just about making it pretty, because some people say, but I can't draw. Well, it doesn't matter. It's not about just prettiness. Visual thinking is about looking and seeing something and seeing the patterns and conceptualizing and understanding the context. So making it visual is making it erase the information. You need, for example, we'll be using traffic light codes, for good things we are going to put green color, for bad things pink color, for so yellow colors. Well, that helps you to erase information. You'll see do you have more green, then it's positive. Do you have more red? That's what I'm talking about visual, because I'm talking about making visual sense making, that it makes sense, not just that it's pretty. Rudolf Arnehen, he's the one who embraced the visual thinking expression, say that all perceiving is also thinking, all reasoning is also intuition, all observation is also invention. So with these ideas, we go to hackathons. As La Mandarina de Newton, we've been involved in many hackathons. I'm gonna share with you just some of them, so then you can see a little bit where they can be used, because they can be used in education, but in another background, and sometimes in your projects, because hackathons help you to work in project-based learning. You'll be able to use this idea of bigger scope than not just the school. For example, we work with Telefónica I+D, the telephone company here in Spain, and El Bulli Foundation, with Ferran Adrià, who is a famous chef. And Ferran Adrià is interested in doing La Bullipedia. It'll be like a big encyclopedia, similar to Wikipedia, but with more sentences than just reading. For doing something that big and that different and that innovative, we cannot work just one person on it, because it's a very, very big challenge. So what he proposed is to do a big hackathon internationally, where people who were working in software, people who were working in education, people who were working in design, they could propose their tools and why they would be good for. And for example, it was nice that some of them came out with ideas of putting sensors on your hand, so then you could beat an egg as a big chef would do it, and the sensors in your hand would show you how to move. Well, that's something very different, that it comes out when you are working with this global intelligence. And of course, here you don't need to work with chefs or telephone companies, but it's to see that the challenges you can propose to the kids can be very different. If you are working with physics, it can be a challenge in how to explain some concepts, or using some concepts to improve something in your school. For example, we did a project called Nature and the City, where kids were asked to look for challenges in the neighborhood and try to improve it through design thinking process. Well, in this Nature and the City project, for example, they saw that all the people, they were quite alone and they needed activities, and in their residentials there weren't many plants. So they combine a process of working with the elderly to make some pottery, and then planting some plants and putting them in the entrance where people were parking their bikes, and that was annoying the elderly because they couldn't go in the residential properly. So, well, that was using biology because they used autochthonous plants. It was artistic because they were making the pottery, they were understanding the context, solving the problem. So you see, and topics you can work on are endable, no? Like, for example, we work for BMW, the brand of cars and motorbikes, and Hack the Ride was to introduce the small motorbikes in the city. Know how you would be nice to have apps that they check with you with the traffic lights or things like that. And although when it focused a lot in coding, it's true that more men and boys are interested. I think more and more girls are also participating. That's why I like to share this photo with you, because this girl was very motivated, and I think it's something we have to include women as well. Sometimes they feel left out. However, Edu hackathons are really good with gender things. For example, Hackathon, it was based on water, and that was for a museum. Here, designers, programmers, educators, they were designing apps for improving the new water museum in Barcelona. And this is EduHack, that was the 2017, also with La Generalitat. And here you see all the process they follow, all the teachers. You see that here, it's not so focused in coding, so it's more mixed. They are not to teachers who are female and to teachers who are male in this photo, but if you look in the background, it's also quite. In fact, in the last hackathon we did, the online one, we were more women than men. So as today, I have to say that I think, Jacobo, you are the only male representing teachers today. But so it's a way of introducing in a more design, engineering, technology mindsetting to all of, not all your students, and not leaving women behind. I think these methodologies have a lot of advantages because it improves the efficiency. If your students make the resources, the educational resources, the scenarios, they are going to be more efficient because it's a little bit peer-to-peer learning. They are going to be designing things for themselves. So it's going to be in the same language as they use, with the same motivations as they have. It's going to be more efficient. Satisfaction is going to increase for sure, because they are feeling more mature. They are feeling that they are responsible of their learning, and they can do something that is successful with their mates, and it's successful for them. So satisfaction is going to increase, and they're going to feel more empowered because they are running their educational process. They are being the leads, not just the teacher told me I have to learn something, but I decide that there was a problem here. I saw it. I defined the problem. I want to look for the solution, and I'm trying to look for the best solution. So I need all the information I can have, because then I will solve this. And if you learn how to solve real problems, that's something you get forever. Because in reality, in your real life, it's true that they don't ask you that much about the specific content. No, what is the Drosophila? They won't ask you if you are not a biologist doing research in the lab, but they probably, life puts you in a situation that you have to solve problems. Well, if you train how to solve problems with the content you are learning in the school, because of course content is also important, then you'll be able to use that content for solving real problems in your real life once you finish school. And you feel more committed, because you make students feel more committed, because they are working on their own projects. They have ideated. So as I say, we tend to fall in love with our ideas, and the students as well. So then they really want to make the best. It's important that they work with real problems. As I was explaining with nature and the city, they were working with problems of the neighborhood, and it was a home for elderly, that they had these problems of how to go in, people parking, being alone, not many plants, needing to do something. But for example, there was another project we did. This was with association that they were taking care of cats in the city, those cats that they don't have owners. And the people who work for this association to take care of these cats, they had a lot of problems organizing themselves because there were many, they were volunteers, there wasn't a protocol. So instead of doing a big document that it would be very tedious to read by everybody, we came out with color code system so people would know when the food is written, when the food was for waste, and where everything was kept, and different. Well, that was done with the students from La Massana, another school. This is more like university level, and it was a really cool project. So it's working on this, on real problems, and then trying to use the concepts from school, math, physics, languages, whatever you are teaching into these real problems. And it's also good that we have to come out with technically feasible solutions. Not everything, it's like, hey, let's do anything. An astronaut arrives and solves all our problems, because this is not realistic. And sometimes when we work with children, even more in primary, if we don't put all the steps, and make a really good path for them to think, sometimes their ideas is like, and suddenly all explode and it was off. We are not looking for that. We are looking for really, that's why we prototype, because we want to make things that they could work, they could be feasible. And I think that's also good, because sometimes we associate creativity with anything can be done. And that's a possible type of creativity, like we have surrealism, or we have any painting expressions that have gone very, very far away. But this type of creativity we are focusing in Edu Hackathons is more like the engineering or product design creativity. That is a creativity with a focus. How can I put a rubbish bin in the beach when everything is sand and I cannot attach it to the floor? Okay, but maybe instead of being a cylinder is a cone, like for the ice cream, and then I can put deep the last corner. It's like an angle that goes in, and then it's going to be harder that even the sun goes up and down and the dunes, but that doesn't fall. Well, that's this type of creativity, changing from a cylinder to a cone. And that's also math, that's geometry. So that's why you can use your subjects and this real problem solution. And the good thing also of these methodologies is that they include new perspectives. They work in teams, so then they have to share their ideas. They also improve their communication skills. They have to think system thinking, like ecosystems, like big systems of things that interact, because sometimes, and that happens even to adults, we solve one thing, but then we destroy many others. And we've seen in society and with the 21st century challenges that this is not good, that we need to think about the whole system. It's like you are sick. If you have headache and you take something that is going to give you a stomachache, it's not good. You need to find something that helps you stop having headache and not having a stomachache. You have to think yourself as a system. Well, the same happens with our planet or with our society. And it's based a lot in collaboration. Here is not about competing, although some hackathons and professional hackathons, they have a prize and people compete. But I don't think in a school you can do it as a motivation, but it's also about how we implement more educational resources, or how we improve our school, or how we use what we are learning to make our classroom look better or be more creative. And it's based on mutualism, on the idea of symbiosis, that everybody helps to everybody, but also we evolve and we improve in this helping each other. So I think also the values of hackathons are good for students, because they are based on this idea of let's change society or improve society by understanding it. So we'll understand because we want to make it better. We want to make a better society with you can work with environment in the school instead of being on the complaint side, being on the productive side. Let's gonna change. We are gonna change our school and make it more efficient in terms of ecology and environmental issues. Well, that would be the idea behind hackathons. And well, that's a little bit the presentation I wanted to share with you, and the talk, so you understand what is a hackathon. I don't know if you have any questions, or if you want to add something, if you want to send it through the chat, or you want to.
Yes.
Jacobo raised the hand, if you want to.
Yes, thank you for your presentation. It was really interesting. My question is, do you have any evaluation system, in the sense when you introduce hackathons in schools? Have you ever used also systems for evaluating the results of these hackathons with students?
Well, then you have to evaluate, like when you are evaluating projects, because it's going to be the result of a hackathon. It's going to be a project, a team of students, they are going to deliver some solution for something. So then you have to evaluate how they've been doing the mapping of the context. If you think the diagnosis was okay, once you analyze if the diagnosis, you find it right, you find the process, they've interviewed people, they've checked on books, or they've on internet or whatever, then how the solution is being implemented and how it's been checked. And it's a little bit like with science research projects, that sometimes they don't have perfect hypotheses, but at least they've checked and they've seen, okay, this is missing, this is not missing. So the prototype is acceptable, and they've done the work to look for that. Here in Spain, we have a research project at the end of secondary school. It would be the same as evaluating this type of project. I don't know if that helps you. And Janine, you also had a question?
Yes. I'm just very new as this hackathon. So I'm just wondering if you want to use it as a method for your students to, to learn more. Do you, because I really like the local aspect as well. So it's like know your city. The city the school is in, for instance, has some bicycle tourism. So you as a teacher, would you ask the students, look around you, and how would you improve your city or attract more tourists? Or would you let the students just go for a walk and come up with something from their own? So as a teacher, do you coach or do you teach?
In my opinion, it's good to find a balance, because I've realized that if you let them too open, then they get lost, and what they come up is not that interesting. But if you mark too much, then they miss this part of finding something. So what I've learned is sometimes it's very good to prepare well the activity before. For example, imagine I don't know, you want to look at your neighborhood and see if your neighborhood can absorb more tourists. Make an activity that they have to look for something concrete. how many rubbish is in the floor, how many, I don't know, places to sit down that you can find, how many trees, and then from that make them decide, okay, if my city is very clean, it means that we have enough rubbish bins, so we can get more people and still we are okay. If we have places to stay, that means that people can walk and rest and blah, blah, blah. If we have enough trees, we have enough photosynthesis to deal with the CO2. So try to make a specific, so they have to look for things, but not anything. And this, you can even do it with them. Okay, we are going to think about what are the topics we need to analyze to understand this. And then with the whole class or with the team, you put it in the blackboard. And then you decide, we are going to look for that. And then you go and you map that. So, of course, there is a lot of work from you. No, that some people, they think, oh, you make the students to do this and you're happy at home. No, in reality,
I'm sorry, someone at the door.
Sorry. Well, someone was also saying, what about the timetable? I mean, do you find the same time necessary to get through the problem with respect to the traditional methods? We have the difficulty to get ready to the final examinations in secondary school. That is harder and harder with math and physics. Well, I think that's Ida, yes. Ida, I think it's a balance. I think this is like putting, well, I start answering Ida, and then I go to you, Janik. It's a balance between content and putting content in practice. I understand what you say, and you need to do the program, and you need to go to the evaluation. And this is not gonna take everything from the other, no, like you still have to explain Newton's laws and everything, but maybe you can make them practice, instead of doing 100 exercises, do something that they put in practice Newton's laws. Or instead of making yourself exam, ask them, for example, one of the challenges, they have to come up with exams. And they have to think the exams. And then maybe you choose bits and pieces from the students' exams, but they are working your content with you. It's a little bit like if you can open your own process of teaching to them. I used to work in science museums, and I realized that the person who learned the most about doing exhibitions, it was myself, because I was reading so much, and and then it's when I started doing this type of things. What about trying to make an exhibition with people? If I open my process, what do I do to make an exhibition? And I ask them to do this task, they are going to learn a lot. So it's a little bit of opening your process. And we were with Janik. It's the same. It's about opening your process. What would you do to get to know what's the problem in your community? So try to break up your steps. What do you do to do something like that? And share them with them. Imagine you want to cook a recipe with them. You have to do, okay, now I'm going to beat the eggs. So let's beat the egg all together. Now I'm gonna put some oil. Okay, let's put some oil together. So you still have a lot of work. I'm not saying this is gonna give you work away. Sorry. I don't know if someone else
Thank you.
asked anything.
Thank you.
You're welcome. If you want, I'm going to share with you the video of the last Edu Hackathon we did this year. Usually you've seen all the materials physically because we could work, it was before pandemia, so we could work in a space, but this can also be done online. And the good thing of doing it online is that it increases a lot interaction. That when we are teaching online, it's a lot of someone talking, like I was doing now, and other people listening. But with this philosophy, they are also doing and working in teams. And even if you don't get the whole philosophy, I think it'll be very good for solving even math problems in teams. Well, I'm going to share the video. And then you, I don't know, sorry. I would like to share this with you. That's a presentation. I have too many things here, I think. 2 seconds, sorry. No, mira, this one. Okay.
What we've been talking about is how to assess
To work on the feelings of your students.
We were thinking about like to make
The first thing we'll do is to welcome you and to introduce to this new event.
I am glad to welcome you to the last learning session of Eduregio Erasmus Plus project, the Hackathon.
Hackathon is like a marathon, but to create something, to develop something, and what you are going to be developing is learning a scenario. We are going to work in teams.
Okay, this will be the neighbors, because we are neighbors. We come from Portugal and Spain.
So we are the nearest pajamas. And
our team name is SPPS team. That means for Sweden, Portugal, and Spain.
Our group is called Multiplier. What we've been talking about is how to assess remote education.
In all this class, we digital support.
We are focusing on primary school students.
During class, regular teaching.
The challenge with the students with special needs.
They have a high level of diversity, most of them are minorities.
How can we create a proposal to help? In your case, I think it's clearly a student. So you need to find ideas to work on the feelings of your students.
We were thinking about like to make or to create a forum for educators, so where they can share their experience, they can share their questions, they can share.
That can contain collaborative learning scenarios,
Creating a sense of belonging and really emphasize on this human aspect, human value aspect.
About the planet, about the animals, about people.
Very good. Yeah, of course.
Students can suggest some tools or some ways to be evaluated.
Engage.
I want to go and know more about this learning scenario.
Water talent.
was very cool and very attractive. Yeah, look, everybody is saying good, 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 good. So congratulations, the neighbors.
We have been very happy working together, and we have learned from each other. That's the main objective.
Well, it's been a pleasure. I think you've worked very hard. We complete all the tasks, so we've done great. I think we can be proud. The 13 people who've been working on this, we've been very hard workers. Thank you, Panda Bear. Okay, that was the video from the hackathon we did. It was 3 days, but you can see that the teams felt strong and they didn't know each other from before. With your students, they would probably know each other, but if you have to mix ages, is the same. You need to find, you need to encourage a good group team feeling, that they feel they are a group. And then they were doing all these things of thinking about the students, how they are, what their needs, trying to come up with what's the problem to solve, ideation, and then prototyping, and then they were sharing it into a video. And you see that other teams commented on other people's work. So it's this idea of collaboration, and it's not me against you, but you are proposing, for example, one of the ideas was like to be able to choose from different online platforms, like students, well, in that case, teachers can help each other analyzing different online platforms, because now there are so many. And another one, they were talking about how to make from water a whole experience for students, and then a gamification that the students had to come up with games to show the knowledge they had learned about the water. So they were very different projects, and then they could all share and comment on them. Today, we are not going to be able to do 9 hours hackathon because that's too much, but we are going to have a hint of it with 2 activities. First, I've been talking that hackathons, they need to rely on visual material, on visual thinking, and it's a lot about collaboration and making teams. So at least you'll have the opportunity to do these 2 things. Yeah, it was saying, yeah, it's not me against you. It's, but I don't know if it's telling to me, but the philosophy of hackathons is this: it's important that you also teach them how to give feedback. That it's not you've never give an opinion about the person or the team who are doing it, but always about the product, and it's always a good feedback of, I think it's a good idea, but look, have you thought about including such and such? So it's true, when I don't know if you were talking about this, but when we do this feedback, because we work a lot with mixing teams, and even it's nice when one team hasn't heard anything about the other people's work, then they go and they talk about this. But it's good that, and I always say, they've been working for 3 hours or 4 hours on that, and you haven't worked any. So be respectful, no? Like you are right there and you are sharing your ignorance, which is sometimes good, because when you don't know anything, you ask questions that they are very interesting, because it's like, oh, I never thought about that, because I was so focused in my answer. But at the same time, you have to be respectful, because you come from different experiences. So that's true. We are going to have a hint of 2 things. And to do that, we are going to use 2 platforms. One is called Wonder, and the other one is called Miro. Is the one you've been seeing, that all these templates, because when you work online, it's good that you use templates. We place them in Miro. And the first one, Wonder, you'll see that it's like a real meeting. You'll be circles, and if you go closer to a circle, you will have a special room, a special place, just by itself, to talk about it. You have a challenge, because also hackathons have a challenge. And the challenge is that you try to comment on what we've been explaining today, the 3 actions Eduregio has done. You can talk you can also talk about, we were saying about policy recommendations about learning while locked down. If you want to talk and share experiences, because you are all teachers, about that, it'll be cool. If you want to comment on the 3 different actions we've done, that's cool. And if you want to comment on the Edu hackathons as well, then that's your challenge, to talk and get to know each other, emphasize and empathize, and get to know your opinion about these topics. And then your work would be to give us some feedback in a very visual way. But first is just to make teams and discuss these topics. To use this, I'm gonna share with you the link. And to use it, you need to use, as Anna was saying, Chrome. And you need to take off the audio and the camera of Google Meet, because it's going to ask you, the other platform is going to ask you for that. And if you don't take the audio, we'll have to, like 2 places. So now you can go there. I'll also be there. Take the audio and video from here, and we'll meet everybody there. Remember that if you just approach, you'll have a bubble to talk to the people. Okay, we are back. We are back, and here you can see the Miro address in the chat. If you can, I'm going to share it with you here. Okay. Just a second. Okay, now you can see this is Miro. This is a platform we've been using with Edu Hackathon, and as you can see, it's very visual. To work with it, you have some percentage here on the bottom. If you are too close, now we are very far away, at least in the one I'm sharing with you, and you just see the whole box that you can write. We don't want to go, that's 9%. If you look at the right bottom, it says 9%. That means we are very, very far away and we can see very little. We want to go closer, and that's why we are going to put more percentage, like 50, I think it's too much, like 35. That depends on the computer. If we get too close, if the percentage on the bottom on the right is too high, like 100%, we'll be so close that we cannot see anything. So that's why we are looking for between 30, 50%, and then we can see the template, but not too much. And the idea is, as you can see, all these materials are very visual. Here as well, we have different colors for different types of opinion. I'm going to ask you to write in the post-it. To write is as easy as you need to click on the arrow. The arrow is on the left. And then just when I have the arrow, I go to one of the post-its, I double click, click, and then it gets marked and I can write. For example, something positive I found about the lockdown is I had to investigate new ways of doing interactive online classes, no? For example, that was something positive for me, but I don't know what was positive for you. So you go in one of the green post-its, you double click, and you can start writing. If you want to give things that they could improve in one of the actions, or in what happened with the lockdown, or anything you've been talking about, well, I don't know, too many platforms can be confusing, for example. On the yellow, we are going to write doubts, questions. How can I evaluate if I don't see them? For example, double click. How can I evaluate if I don't see them? See my students. If you go in the blue one, is to give ideas. Remember that this philosophy is very optimistic. So we have to propose something good. What about students making a repository of all the online tools that they use, of all the online tools they use. So you can give positive opinions, not so positive, like things that you think they could be improved, questions or ideas. I think because I can see some of you, you are too much on the left. The template is a little, exactly, come more to the right. There are a couple of guests who are also too much on the left. If you want to find template, you have to move a little bit to the right. Perfect. Some of you have to start writing. Perfect. You are moving. Someone is still too much in the left. If you explain? Perfect. Now you can all see the template. You can all double click, perfect, and you can all write your feedback. And we are gonna have 10 minutes approx to write this feedback. So you can contribute with positive, with negative questions and ideas. Okay. Someone made the post-it a bit bigger, but it's okay. We can make it small. That's too small. Yeah, perfect. And someone was here. On the good parts, I guess a lot about the lockdown. You are talking a lot about learning new things, making it more digital and digital competences. Also soft skills, which is good because we don't usually work those ones that much, and it's not that easy. Students with special needs. But there is a lot about you improving as teachers and learning more things, which is really good. That's a good aspect. And also the actions Eduregio has done are in that direction to help you improve yourself as teachers and to share with you information. Don't worry, someone just draw a line, you can delete it. Yeah. If not, I'll delete it for you. You already done it. Sometimes can be hard if you have students in and out of the class, online and offline. you can't see less. So it's true that it's harder to see how to get motivated. However, if you do more interaction, then it's a little bit easier. No, interaction always helps us to see the motivation, isolation. If they don't come, it's harder, taking more time. Yeah, camera, that's So mostly you are talking about the lockdown. You are not commenting that much on the actions about the Eduregio. I don't know if it's because you don't have them clear. You can also ask questions if the Eduregio actions weren't that clear or you want to know more, you can also put it in questions like, I would like to know more about action 2, or I never heard about Code Week and I would like to know more about that or about anything. Yeah, sometimes in the questions how to motivate my colleagues, it's true that among teachers, sorry, there is not the same amount of motivation. So sometimes it's hard because we also work in teams. So new tools come to stay, we don't know. Yeah, that's true. I guess someday will stay. Also because someone was saying in the good things, I could work better with students with special needs. I think some of these tools, they can be useful for people who live far away or who had to stay at home or things like that. Engagement in project-based learning, I think in general, it's easier, it's more motivating than, but of course it depends. It depends also on your context. And as ideas go, okay. Someone proposes Wakelet, integrating tools. Yeah, that's something that I think some of educational research departments, they are trying to do, to integrate tools. I think that's a very good idea that someone is proposing. And this idea of mixing platforms or mixing online and offline, I think that's something also quite interesting to explore. Okay. So this is a little bit how we were doing the activities. Of course, you didn't have a whole experience of empathizing and framing a problem and ideating and prototyping because we need more time for that. But at least you had this experience of talking to someone in the team. I hope you met at least the people we are here, that you had the chance to talk to one to another. And Bea and Cynthia and Jacopo and Ida, that at least you say hi and what's your problem. Then there is this idea that we use visual templates and visual places to step the process, and then we all write the information. It's good that information is written, because sometimes if you make a lot of dialogue, it's also good, but sometimes the people who are better at talking, they manipulate the conversation and it's just them and them. So I usually combine writing and then sharing. And at least you had a hint of how these tools work and how you could use them in the school. I don't know if someone wants to add something that you wrote in the evaluation or something that it happened, because for my part, that would be a little bit it, the presentation and the small teaser of the hackathon. So now, I don't know if you want to comment on something now or you want to reserve for later, because we have a question and answer time reserved for that. I know, Anna, if you prefer that we go to a break like we had planned and then people can ask questions.
Okay, maybe it's up to the participants, but we can set a screen break of maybe 10 minutes. Don't make it long. And then maybe you will have some minutes to get a reflection. I would like really from the bottom of my heart to thank all the contributions and your feedback, because they are really helpful to focus again some aspects of the handbooks. You know, sometimes whenever you are writing white lines, you get on mind the teachers, the real teachers, but sometimes you get out of focus sometimes. So this is really helpful to let us center the ideas and everything. And all of the contributions are really interesting and valuable. So after this, you may have some minutes for reflection, and maybe you will come back with more questions and answers. We have gathered some of them, but okay, maybe if we come back at, let's say, 12:25, we are back and we are answering questions, and maybe you have more ideas and some sudden questions. We are open to answer them. So thank you so much, and see you in 10 minutes. Sorry, it was my mistake to say 12:25 whenever I was meaning 12:30, but okay, it's 12:27, so we can, if we are all here, we can leave 3 minutes. So sorry for this mistake. But of course, I don't know what clock was I checking. So thank you for your patience. And we are continuing by the round of questions and answers. In the meanwhile, I am sending you the link of the evaluation report. We will give you 5 minutes at the end to write your feedback. If you have not time to finish it, you can finish whenever you want and send it. It will not take you more than maybe 4 or 5 minutes. It's a short one. Okay. Yes, of course, Ida. You will have a feedback. You will have a feedback and also the evaluation report. Yes, this is something that was unplanned, but it's a brilliant contribution. Thank you so much for your suggestion. Yes, it's even for research reasons a very, very interesting feedback. We will gather everything in a nice report to get sent to you.
In fact, we can do a PDF of your template with your answers. And I'm just sending it. I don't know if I can send it through the chat, if I can add documents, but if not, don't worry that you'll have it through an email.
There's echo, Irene.
Okay, now it's 30, so we are reading the questions that we collected from the side chat. So the first question was about the timetable. I think it was Sida who asked this question. What about the timetable?
Irene already answered, so it's okay.
Okay, fine. Great.
Thank you.
Thank you to you, Ida. And Jacopo asked how to evaluate hackathons in classrooms. So also Irene gave a good answer. Maybe after some reflection, you may want to add something from your ideas. Okay. Or maybe do you
You're
want
speaking
any...
with me or with...
Yes, well, with the whole group, but especially with you, Jacopo. I don't know if your answer, if your question was answered properly, or maybe you have different ideas after...
Yeah, actually, yeah, because in our school we are trying to implement this project-based teaching, but the doubts that we have are, from one side, the scoring, because a lot of teachers would like to assign scores, and I don't know, because in my opinion, scores are a little bit in contrast with the approach of implementing a project, okay? And and then on the other side, we are trying to understand how we can increase the engagement of students in this kind of project, so that they do not, let's say, see the project as something that the school asks them to do, but something in which they should be, let's say, happy of doing it. So these are our two.
I think Jacobo. Is Jacobo or Jacobo?
Jacopo.
Jacopo. Jacopo. I think, yeah, I hear the echo. I don't know why. If they define the challenge, that's a good way that they don't feel the school is not giving them what they have to do. And I think it changes a lot when they can decide, oh, I think this is wrong, we are going to improve it. That if you say, imagine, the walls in the class are very boring, we are going to paint them. That's something that they are forced to do. But if they decided, wow, I don't like the rooms of the color of the room, then it's different. So that was a little bit the answer for the second question. And can you repeat the first question? Because I was sending Ida, if you want,
don't worry.
You have the PDF.
No, the first was related to my first question. That was related to the scores, because the teachers are let's say not coming from a, let's say, educational environment. I'm not much, let's say, linked with the scores and so on, but that is something that schools must generate. And so I don't know how we can, let's say, use this project-based teaching and how we can generate scores that, I don't know, it's something related to the project and not something, let's say, that they have studied and repeated in a question that I make in class. So,
well, I think it's very good that you don't come from teaching, because then you can associate with someone in your school that has a lot of experience in teaching, and you can do a good tandem of content that they have to learn and reality they have to live. Because I think the problem is sometimes we switch from one to another. No, now we all go to projects. Now we all go to curriculum. And I think the combination is the perfect, because of course there are some contents that they have to learn. And reality, it's hard to find the ideal project, but it has everything. I mean, that's not that easy. So if you encourage your students to work in teams, and you do the same, you work in teams with your as a teacher, I think it's going to be helpful. And then I think it's good. I mentioned very briefly, but sometimes I talk about sharing ignorance. I think it's really cool that we share ignorance, because usually we are very used to sharing what we know. I'm very good at whatever. I'm very good at drawing, at languages, so I'm going to do all the writing. But when we share our ignorance, when you haven't been a teacher before, you ask questions that they can look silly, but sometimes they are very innovative, because, I don't know, I'm just guessing. Why do we have to be all sitting down in chairs? If you don't come from teaching, maybe you ask that question. But if you come from teaching, no, because you always had them like that way. So it's almost impossible to think about that. So I think it's very good that you use your ignorance as a teacher to tell the others to propose nice questions to the. I mean, in a gentle way. You don't say, "Why are you doing all of this?" No, but gently. And at the same time, if you have worked as engineering, I think that's perfect, because one thing I think sometimes is missing in the school is this idea of projects, of a long process of doing things. Reality doesn't fragment it that much. Your content is not about, okay, now I do multiplication and now I do geometry. No, I have to make, I don't know, a cover because I have a microscope that is getting rusty and I need to sew something that it covers and protects it. So I need to calculate, I need to do a little bit of geometry. Okay, what shape does it? It's a cylinder, more or less. I have to approximate, and that's something at school, it's hard for them because usually they don't work in that real setting that much. So as an engineer, you see, okay, this microscope works as a cylinder or as a sphere. So stop calculating everything. Just we are going to make a sphere around it. We are going to make the radio, and we are going to sew the piece of cloth, and we are going to cover it so it doesn't get rusty. And that's something an engineer can do. So I would reinforce that part and use your you're not knowing things.
Okay, maybe I would add something that to translate assessment into curriculum. So you should define the learning objectives of the lesson you are trying to do. I think it's mostly the same in Italy than in Bari. Oh no, you said Northern Italy. Sorry, I don't remember. So probably it's not that different in Catalonia than in Italy. So you pick the learning objectives of your lessons. You have, of course, this requires a lot of time, a lot of reflection, and a lot of patience, and try to perfect. Because never, changes in education are very slow. You have to check and test, and of course, every student is different from each other. So, but practice makes perfection. You pick learning objectives. You decide which of them will be the challenges to work over, and then you prepare a rubric. I don't know if you are used to rubrics, and to check what are the evidences of progress. For example, let's say if the student was able to find in the internet the information related to, I don't know, for example, building a robot. He was able to find information to pick the pieces, or maybe let's use a maker approach, or to find cardboards and things to be assembled together. And they were able to code enough to make the cardboard moving. I am inventing because I am not technologist teacher. So you find what are the evidences. It's kind of project-based learning, but it encourages a lot collaboration. So you make them work together in classrooms. So this may answer the question about how to prevent students to switch off the camera. Because in transmissive, well, in my opinion, online teaching doesn't support very well transmissive classrooms. If you switch on the camera and you speak and you use maybe a big panel and you draw, probably your students will play Fortnite in the side camera or in the mobile. So you need to find a way to. It has happened to me. So you need to find the way to engage them. So a good way to engage them is to make them collaborate online. So if they are facing challenges, it's the same like, for example, I was mentioning Fortnite. What makes a student to spend hours and hours and hours and pay for it just to play some little cartoon that are shouting and are jumping and are shooting each other? And they find the motivation. So probably listening to you and looking at how are you drawing in a whiteboard is not enough. Even for no matter if you are handsome, if you are a good communicator. Okay, some teachers have it. No matter and this happens also. Some teachers are very good at transmission, but probably they are a challenge, an elite kind of teachers. Maybe it's the 5 of us have to use our imagination and our creativity to find how to motivate students, and probably using strategies based on gamification may be useful. So the good thing about hackathons is that you make them be a team. You face them to a time limit, and they have to finish with a functional prototype, something that will be working. So how to translate this from your traditional classes and your traditional subjects into something that you can assess and you can make happy their parents with a grade, with in the mark report. So probably our educational systems need to be a bit adapted to accept these strategies. So in the meanwhile, we need to be very creative about this. So I hope this explanation may help. Now, Ida, please.
Yes, maybe it was me asking about how to cope with the final examination, because all those ideas are very good, very beautiful, very engaging, but at the end of the 5 years of high school, we have to stand for an examination which is ministry and which is on a national extension. I mean, so we have to prepare students to solve those kind of problems which are harder and harder, especially in physics. We are teaching to relativity, or Einstein relativity. So it's very, very hard to cope with both things.
Well, I have to say that you really hit the nail, because you nailed it, sorry, because this is the issue that, for example, Finnish educational system is facing. They made a curriculum reform, and they found that still is very difficult. They are working on, well, they have freedom to choose, but the schools that choose phenomenal learning, that can, for example, hackathons can be a strategy very well adapted to phenomenal learning. That means you ask a teacher is a coach, and students have to face challenges, be creative, etc. So how to match this with high-stake exams, and still finish our trying to find a solution, because and finally everyone is doing exams. So these kind of strategies are used for to exercise, to add some motivation, but we are still linked to traditional exams, and a traditional part has to be still on it.
I think, though, in something that is specific, then your challenge should be, for example, how to explain these to younger kids, how to make a video that is very clear so the challenge they have is to explain, because then it's like they will be at least reviewing that content, and at least it will help them then when they have to get an exam about that. They've been working on that, or how to make an exhibition on relativity. Like, in my opinion, when the topic is that specific and that hard, the best thing is to share your challenge with them. Your challenge is, how can I make this attractive? Make it their challenge. Make it their challenge. Share it with them. This philosophy is about opening yourself. That's also the hard part, because you are also sharing your fears. My fear is, how can I make this good for you? How can I make you learn it? Okay, share it with them. And even you go to the class and you say, look, being a teacher is harder than you think, because imagine you had to do this. How would you do it? You're going to help me. And humor. I also use humor, as you can see. I'm sorry.
Okay, thank you so much. So we have another question is from Gencat about how to scale this kind of experiences. Of course, we cannot avoid the high stakes exams, traditional teaching that is still required by families. I don't have a personal experience about this, because I was very successfully using gamification strategies in my own classroom, but problems were coming from my colleagues, sorry to say, and especially from the families, because they didn't quite understand why I needed to use, for example, some batches in the activities, in the learning activities, whenever I could use numbered marks. What changes? To have a nice drawing than to write an 8, a 10. Well, this is how it works, or maybe an A, an F. What changes? You are reporting progress, no matter if you use a number or a drawing. But we have to face this kind of challenges. But of course, hackathons can be very useful as tool in the classroom. why not use them, especially to add some spice or maybe to deepen in some aspects? Now we have to face a mixed landscape for them to get used. So how can we scale these experiences? That's a very good question. As I said, even Finnish are still trying to find a solution, even if the schools have a much greater degree of autonomy than us in Italy and in Catalonia. But we will try. We will try. Of course, we can use hackathons as training, as teacher training services. And also, Olga is adding very interesting point. Also, families need, as in many cases, need to reach some degree of digital competence, even to understand what are their students, their children doing.
Yeah, and I think it's a little bit like a virus, now that we've had one that has been affected to all of us. In 2017, I remember when I worked with Área de Tecnología d'Aprenentatge al Coneixement de la Generalitat, we worked with, if I remember well, it was over 900 teachers, I think. Anna might have the numbers, but there were a lot of teachers from all Catalonia. And I think, in my opinion, we are not going to convince all of them, but if we convince some in some schools, no, and they try and it works, it's not, it spreads. Eventually, this idea of prototyping is also interesting, I think. Trying, no, Ida or Jaco or Janik, they try in their school and it's successful. Maybe another teacher sees and wants to do it, and then it spreads. And because at least in Spain, teachers move quite a lot. Now you are teaching in this school, but 3 years later you are in another one. They also spread these ideas. So I think it's a matter of time, and eventually every teacher is different, and we are not going to be able that they all teach the same. But I think it's also good that they are different, because then in society people are going to be different. So imagine all teachers were the same and they're very, very cool, super chubby. Then when you have a boss, it's a pain in the ass, you have a depression. So no, I remember, I'm not a teacher, a high school teacher anymore, but I used to be. And when teenagers come and complain, oh, that teacher is so grumpy and blah, blah, blah. And I say, well, this is good, because in your life, you'll have a lot of grumpy people. So you are training too. So I think it's little by little. And I absolutely agree with Olga. It's also a matter of families. I think all these new technologies and new ways of doing, they require, in my opinion, a whole society that is rising. No, if you want, I think co-creation is about democratization of things, but to be more democratic, you need to be more aware of things. You have to be reading, you have to be present, you have to be critical. And that's challenging for society, because some of us just, they want to be doing nothing. So I think we are raising, and we are not going to be able to get everybody being proactive all the time, and because people get tired and they get sick. But if we get some, many teachers in many points, many parents, then eventually they spread like a virus. So I think it's little by little. I'm optimistic and I want to change the world. I told you already, changing the world by understanding it. But I think it's not wanting tomorrow all the teachers doing this. But some teachers in some schools, and then moving them around, and some parents understanding and moving them around. And then the children grow and they go to secondary and they move it around in secondary, and so on and so on. Think about viruses. They are not living beings, but they are very smart.
Okay, we hope we answered your questions. Do you have any other question? Same introducing in classroom, so the drop can make a wave. So I agree completely with you, because sometimes families are afraid to miss important information. yes, it's kind of similar. Whenever you are introducing an innovative methodology, families, especially families, can feel that they are stepping unexpected paths, and they feel unsure. The same with some teachers. Whenever you took them you removed the classical chalkboards. For example, many teachers were afraid of this change, and now they have discovered the power of digital whiteboards. They are usual in most classrooms. You can. They are very easy, but I remember that many teachers were saying, "Oh, where is my blackboard? I cannot do nothing without my chalks and my drawings." But you have a whole world of things to explain. You can show videos. You can, if you're a skilled artist, you can really make your students say, "Wow, what's that?" Every change needs time, for sure. Okay, and also clear. They are afraid, but from many experiences, students learn. Also, they get a second language. So why not try at least? But of course, and also high stakes exams are something to take into account. This is how, well, we are living times of change. Do you have any other question? Okay, so maybe it's time to ask you all to answer our formal evaluation form, because this way you will make happy the evaluators of the Eduregio project. Of course, your feedback in the Miro is enough to write something, but we need to show it's kind of our high-stake exam. So I am sharing with you the link. So we will give you 5 minutes to answer, and in the meanwhile, we are showing you our video to say thank you, and to see you later, maybe next time. So really, thank you so much for your time, for your feedback that is so useful and so appreciated. So maybe Irene and Olga would like to say goodbye too.
Well, in my part, just thanks a lot for for being with us and sharing your comments and doubts, because for me, they also, as I say, I think they help me to improve. So the same as I say that you can do with others, you are doing it with me. So thanks a lot, and I hope you have a very good next year, teaching year. And if you have any questions or doubts, you can always write or check for us. That's why internet is so cool.
On my part, also, thank you for being here with us, and I wish you a very nice holiday. Sorry, I haven't been able to talk a lot, but I have the effects of vaccination, and I'm not feeling very well. But anyway, a very nice holiday. Thank you for being with us, and hope to see you sometime later.
Okay. Some of you are asking for to keep in touch. Of course, we can keep in touch. As you all have Facebook, we are kindly inviting you to enter the Facebook group Digitally Competent Teachers, that was created by European SchoolNet for our MOOC, but we can no need to open a new Facebook group. And also we will be very happy to get you adding your contributions, because it's a bit forgotten but can be still active. So the Facebook group, let me share with you for those of you that are not still. One moment, I am entering my Facebook and sending you the address of the group. So please join us. And thank you so much for everything. Okay, one moment. Digitally Competent Teachers. Here is it. Okay. Sorry, it's a bit slow. Here is it. Do you all have Facebook? I missed to ask you. Okay. I was going to send you a link. And also you will meet 800 teachers. Really happy to share experiences, to share feedback, maybe even to launch new Erasmus Plus project. Okay, well, copy link. Here is it. Okay, here you are. And everyone will appreciate a lot to launch new conversations and new feedback. So thank you everyone for, and also we are educational authorities behind this group, not a private partner, organization. Okay, so thank you for everything. Olga, would you please launch the last? It's the entrance video. Okay, I am sharing again the feedback. Sorry. Okay, here you are. Okay, here you are, the link to the formal evaluation. Thank you so much. Lovely holidays.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Hi, Andrea.
Okay, I am stopping the recording.
I ens hem quedat nosaltres tres.